Our next speaker, is Gina Tokar. Gina and I met, and we are now new best friends because we met Tuesday, I think, right? Is that when we met? Right. But that doesn't really matter, does it? When we all know that we can connect like that. Not only is Gina one of the most senior women at Panasonic, and not only is Panasonic one of the most interesting and unusual corporate cultures, perhaps that most of us in this room work in, but it would be enough if we could just say she is the change agent. Not only has she changed the course of the business that she runs from unprofitable to blockbuster. Not only, that would have been enough, but not only has she done that, she has decided to change the face of Newark, New Jersey, one of the largest and our largest city, and certainly someplace that is an economic engine for New Jersey, by being in charge of the Newark downtown district and helping to revitalize a city that is now attracting residents and businesses and restaurants at a pace never before. She has also changed the career path of so many women at Panasonic, and hopefully after today, she will change some of you as well. So with that, Gina, please join us.
I want to know, for those who were here last night with Dee, did you wake up this morning as a 10? Because I did. So I'm thrilled to be here with you and give you a little bit of my personal journey. I'm going to spend some time in my early years because my journey is also about accountability, about fear, about confidence, and it is about owning your success. When I was young, I told you I was fearful, I lacked confidence. The only thing I was confident in was I was going to become a physician just like my dad. And off I went to college, and for 3 years I had an advisor every time I had to go and do my classes who would say to me, "Are you really sure you want to do this job? There are so few female physicians around, and you're most likely going to have to give up having a husband, a family, and children, because it's going to be extra hard for you." And after the 3rd year, in my junior year, I really began to listen to what this woman said, because I wanted it all. And I'd grown up with a father who was a physician. In those days, they were mostly single care providers. He was often called away to emergencies, not around at dinners, not around on holidays, because he was caring for other people. And I wondered, in a world dominated by men, if I could find a man who would stand behind me and help me through that. So in my low EI, my lack of confidence and my fear that I couldn't have it all, I changed my major in my senior year. And when I talked to my dad and told him this, I could see the look of disappointment in his face because I'd given up on a dream. And then he said to me this burning question that he said over and over and over again for an entire year in my senior year. "What are you going to do with your life now?" Well, heck, I had no clue. The one thing I knew was I was off Dad's payroll in May, and I better find something. I didn't want to go into research. I didn't want to use that sociology degree that was the only thing I could finish in 4 years. But what I knew I wanted to do was learn. I wanted to learn about business, and my first goal out of school became just get a job. Find a job that I could get into with a medium to large size company where I could learn how businesses worked and how I could fit into this world. And that's what I did. I started as a service administrator for a medical electronics company, and in my determination to show people that I actually could give in this company, I learned about that company. Not only did I do my job, I volunteered for the most unsavory projects that could have been known to man. All the ones nobody wanted. The ones that were so hairy, people thought they would lose their jobs. And why did I do that? Because even though I had a fear of failure, even though I feared losing a job, I knew that if I took those jobs that other people didn't want, and you made a success, you could make a name for yourself. But not only that, if I failed, there was actually a cushion underneath me because most of those managers knew those jobs were really difficult. And I mentored with the director of the service department, and he said to me, okay, you've had a couple promotions, where do you want your career to go? And I said, I want to run a company. I don't care what company, it thrills me. So I went back for my MBA while I was working, and when I got out of school and there was an opportunity in that company, I had to go look for another job. Well, now I had to start. Was I good enough? That fear was coming back. That confidence was not there. Well, I got a very ironic phone call by somebody who I'd maintained a really great relationship with, a former colleague, who called me to tell me he was leaving his job and that he was leaving to go back to medical school full-time to become a physician. But because he knew my work ethic, because he knew how I managed and worked with people, he recommended me as his replacement to his boss. Would I be interested? Well, hell yes, I was interested. It was a bigger company, it was a bigger job, and so I prepared myself in the days before the internet and Google by peppering him with questions, going and reading journals, and getting ready for that interview. And the day of that interview, by the way, I had been planning in the supply chain. I failed to plan that day. I showed up at this company, and I had to park way, way far away from this campus. And to prepare myself and to give me confidence before I arrived, I did what any good woman would do. I bought a great outfit and an even more expensive pair of Italian leather shoes that I had no rights buying. But I failed to look at the weather, and while it was beautiful and sunny, the minute I had to get out of that car, as luck would have it, the rain started. But it wasn't rain, it was a monsoon. Well, I was determined to get this job. I really didn't care if I looked like a drowned rat. We could talk about that. I was not going to ruin the investment in my shoes, so off they came, and up the hill I started to go with them in my hand. I had failed to even stick an umbrella in there, so this was not starting out well. By chance, out of another building comes a well-dressed man carrying an umbrella, and I must have looked so pitiful to this guy that he looked at me and said, "Want a ride?" Okay, yes. So off I go with the man, and we start talking about why I was there. What was I doing? And we had a casual conversation. When we got to my building, I thanked him, and he wished me luck on my interviews. I did get that job. And on my first day, the vice president, somebody that I'd interviewed with, welcomed me to the company and said, "Hey, Gina, I didn't know you knew our president." I didn't. And then he proceeded to tell me the story of me walking up the hill under an umbrella. That day I learned two things. Owning your success was about always being on. It was about chance meetings and greetings that create opportunities that you shouldn't squander. I gained a mentor and 2 sponsors for my career in that company. And I gained 1 unlikely mentor. Mentors happen where you least expect them. My mentor was not somebody in a high place. It was not somebody who had broad-based business experience at that time. It was my own executive assistant. She had gone back to work when her husband suddenly passed away of a heart attack. She had had 4 small children at home in a time and no support network where she needed to feed them and take care of them. She had more EI. She'd been with that company for 30 years. She knew everybody in there, and she knew influence without authority. She knew how to negotiate, and from her, when I went through my own divorce, having 2 small kids, I was able to manage my career. I give you those lessons because I was full of fear and lacked confidence. But I learned through natural networking and my natural capabilities that I stopped fearing and stopped worrying about being a woman and just being best at what I could be. Thank you.
Okay, who wants to read the rest of the Gina Tokar book? Me, right? You know there's a few more chapters that have yet to unfold. Because we're on a time frame, I have to get to the questions and answer part, but I do think that many of us could have listened to this. You were incredibly moving, and I think it's always really gratifying for us women to hear that we were not born out of utero immediately with the confidence and skill set to do everything possible, right? I mean, not too often do we all sort of admit, hey, it wasn't always like this. So with that, do I have some questions from the audience? Yes, let's start with the microphone and just your name and a question.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Marcella, and I'm with Lakeland Bank. I'm Vice President of Client Engagement. And my question for you is, you were so inspiring to all of us here. I mean, I just want to keep listening to you. What is your greatest inspiration?
Actually, my greatest inspiration was my dad. I know that sounds really crazy, but when I was a girl, my dad was one of the most gender blind, color blind. He was about humanity. He was about caring. And he taught me to be giving of myself, unlike anybody I ever knew.
How fortunate to have a parent like that. Next question. Yes.
Oh. Hi everyone, I'm Mihika Iyer. I'm 16 years old and the CEO of Ladyship Inc. Thank you. My question for you is, how do you think women should go about balancing work life and family life and still being successful?
So it's about choices. Balance is sometimes work is balanced and sometimes your life is balanced. I think that you have to make choices in your career. I told you that I'd gone through a divorce. I had 2 small children who were babies. I had a job of high travel. I had a huge responsibility, and I didn't know if I could keep it up because I had no support network. My family was way away from me, and my father had suffered a stroke. My mother was his caregiver. So it's about boundaries. It's about knowing what you can do and accepting. I had to be honest about where I was in my career at that point. I had to step back because my kids needed me more. So that's what I would say. You have to pick your boundaries, and you cannot use excuses in your life that other people have prevented you from your own success. You have a network, you have people who help you, but you are in control of the decisions that you make, and therefore you have to take the accountability for those decisions.
Great answer. Next question? Yes, right over here for our mic runners.
What did you do at Panasonic?
Your
Ann. I'm sorry, my
name.
name's Ann.
Right, thank you.
What did you do at Panasonic, and how did you create that change?
So at Panasonic, when I came into Panasonic, I run the operations for one of their North American B2B companies. Panasonic, as you know, is a male-dominated world. It's a male-dominated culture. The business I came into was not doing well. There are actually some compliance issues that occurred in there. We had a new president. They made some changes, and we actually had to buckle down and turn around a major loss. And in 1 year, we had moved multi-millions of dollars of losses by actual smart business, cost-cutting, reinvestment, and a strategic growth plan. It was difficult on some employees, but unfortunately, there was a greater good that had to be done for that business to survive. And we were profitable within 1 year. We are continuing on our transformation journey from just really being a reseller of the factory's hardware. So the most famous product I probably work with is the Toughbook laptop computer that is utilized in military settings, in with our police and first responders. And so therefore, It's a really important product that leads to the safety of those of us in this room. And by doing so, we are trying to move away from just the boxes that we're pushing, but also offering our customers solutions, meaning adding hardware and services that enable their operations, because all our products are used in the operations of our customers' front lines. So we know how they work, and we're trying to improve that, which improves their profitability, which gives people jobs and our own people jobs. So that's long-winded what I did with them.
That's helpful. We have time for one more question, and then we're going to move on. Is there one more question? Well, I'll tell you what, Gina's going to be around. So, Gina, you were wonderful and very inspiring.
Thank you.